God damn. What a ride. Hey guys, the Black Critic Guy, here today to review unquestionably the most anticipated and most hyped film of 2018. A film that was literally 10 years in the making. Avengers: Infinity War. This is gonna be a tough mountain to climb. Let's get started. I think it's safe to assume that we all know what the plot to Avengers: Infinity War is. Thanos is coming to get the Infinity Stones, and the Avengers are trying to stop him. Pretty straightforward. As I stated at the beginning of this video, this is unquestionably the most anticipated film of 2018. Everybody is looking forward to seeing this film, myself included. I mean, we've been waiting 10 long years to see the end game to this ongoing Marvel Cinematic Universe, and 6 years to see Thanos finally do something. And so 10 years, 18 films, and 1,000 actors later, we have now reached Avengers: Infinity War. And what did I think of the film upon my initial viewing? It's very flawed, but extremely enjoyable. So what did I like about the film? Well, to get the obvious out of the way, I really enjoyed seeing all the characters together in this film and interacting with one another. Some of these interactions were gold, they were excellent, while others... we need to have a talk, Marvel. And I was quite surprised at the emotional depth that was displayed in some of these interactions. I think the two standouts, in my opinion, was between Star-Lord and Gamora, and even more surprisingly, Gamora and Thanos. I, for one, really like that they expanded on Gamora's backstory in this film, as we never really got to see it in any of the Guardians of the Galaxy film. So I'm glad that they finally touched on it. I was also thoroughly surprised at how they handled Thanos in this film, though I must be honest with you guys, I'm still a bit torn by how to feel about the character's representation. I don't hate it, but I'm not enamored with it either. I'll explore more of that later on. But there's no denying that Thanos is the most formidable foe in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, even without the Infinity Gauntlet. Now, I cannot in good conscience give glowing praises to the story here for being wholly original and daring and risky. It really isn't. As I mentioned earlier, it's pretty simple, straightforward, and in my personal opinion, quite typical for a superhero story. I mean, we all know what the beats are in this story, and we can figure out what the end game is going to be. But the story was effective, and it kept me engaged throughout. And if the story can keep me fully invested in what's going on, then I think it was a successful story. There are a lot of thrilling and exciting moments scattered throughout the film, with some really well done action sequences that were very fun to watch. There's a throwdown at the beginning of this film, which was a throwdown I've always wanted to see on screen, and I thought they pulled it off spectacularly. It was phenomenal. There's also a scene in the middle that's so damn clever, I couldn't stop smiling. And it's a perfect example of showing how these heroes not only fight with their fists, but also fight with their wits. They use their brains to think outside the box to get the upper hand on a foe that's way more powerful than they are. I love that scene. It's a really great scene. It reminds me so much of the end fight in Doctor Strange. And coincidentally, Doctor Strange was in this particular scene. And you all know how much I gush about heroes teaming up and cooperating together as one unit. And you see plenty of examples of that in this film. There's one scene where Thanos is fighting a bunch of these heroes where you see it in full display, and it was marvelous. No pun intended. And finally, the last thing I really liked about the film was its conclusion. I'm still speechless. Completely and utterly speechless. I mean, I saw it coming. I knew it was coming. But even though it came, I still wasn't prepared for it. All I can really say about the conclusion, hashtag all quiet in the realm. Or better yet, hashtag all quiet in the MCU. And to add to the immense impact that the film's conclusion had, and this actually happened, when my audience was getting up to leave the theater, not a single one of them said anything. I felt like I was leaving a wake or a funeral. It was so dour, depressing, and somber. It's like everybody was just in a very bad mood. Now, maybe it was because it was like 12 in the morning at that time, so maybe people were just tired and spent emotionally, especially after the last 5 to 10 minutes that we experienced, so maybe that's why no one was really saying anything. But god damn, it really goes to show you how much we were so invested in some of these characters, and to see what happened at the conclusion, it just made us all feel kind of sad and empty inside. And that's really all I have to say in regards to the conclusion. But now, guys, unfortunately, we reached the point of the review where I do need to be a bit critical towards Avengers Infinity War. And keep in mind, I don't do this out of hate, I do this out of love. I love this franchise, I love Marvel Studios, I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But sometimes the MCU needs some tough love, and I'm willing to give it some. Once again, another Marvel film falls victim to the quipping syndrome. Such excessive amounts of quipping in Avengers Infinity War, most of which were unnecessary, forced, not funny, annoying, and out of place in some of the film's more dramatic moments. I'll give you an example right now. There's a scene at the beginning of this film where Thanos and his children, they're called the children of Thanos, it's basically his like generals basically, and they're talking on this ship, and they're talking about collecting the stones, and then one of the characters come out of nowhere and start saying, hey, I can help you with that, you know, I kind of know the place, blah, 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 you know, ad-libbing and quipping, and I'm sitting there like, you just ruined the weight of this moment. Now, I understand the purpose of why the character did it. It was supposed to be a diversion, but it just didn't work. It was not effective whatsoever, and it completely ruined the tone. And again, as I stated in my Doctor Strange review, my Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 review, and most recently my Thor Ragnarok review, I wouldn't have a problem with the quipping if it was done sparingly and if it was funny. The problem with most of the quipping in this film is that it's just not funny, it's rather annoying. It sounds like a bunch of people bickering back and forth. Had it been funny or humorous to some degree, maybe it could have worked, maybe I could have gave it a pass. But it just comes off as bothersome. Not to mention it derails the flow of the story because it has to come to a screeching halt so that these characters can quip back and forth. There's a scene in the film where you see Thor interacting with the Guardians, and I swear to God, it's 5 minutes of the characters trying to one-up each other with quips, constantly, and Gamora tries to reel them all in like, guys, Thanos is out there, let's get back on target, and then they go back to quipping again. And I was just like Gamora, I facepalm like, can we just move on? We have more important things to do. And this film is 2.5 hours long, I promise you. You trim out some of the quipping in this film, you could get this film close to 2 hours. While I thoroughly enjoyed the action sequences, I must admit, on a technical level, many of them were sloppily executed. Primarily the train fight in Scotland and the end fight in Wakanda. There's a lot of shaky cam being used to the point where you can't really make out what's happening on screen, who's fighting who, and the piss poor editing with no fluidity from cut to cut. This was a complaint that I had with Civil War and Thor Ragnarok, and they still continue to do it. I don't understand. Are you guys just not learning from any of your mistakes? I mean, you got the quipping problem, and you got the filming problem when it comes to your action sequences. And I'm still surprised because these are the same guys that gave us the spectacular action sequences in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. How are they not able to replicate what they did in that movie with this? The reason the sloppy execution of the action scenes is a problem is because it breaks immersion. I mean, I'm fully engaged and invested in what's going on, but when an action scene comes and I see how sloppy the camera work is or how the editing is not fluid throughout, that really takes me out of the film. Maybe that might not take you out of the film, but for me personally, it was such a distraction because I just wanted to enjoy the film, but these action sequences were just not handled properly. And it made me go, man, I would have loved that action scene had it been made properly. Similar to my previous point, while I did enjoy many of the interactions in this film, there were some that weren't so great and I felt like were truly underwhelming, or they just didn't have enough time spent with each other. The ones I felt like were underwhelming was the first interaction between Thor and the Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought that was a huge letdown because all it really was one big quip-off. Characters constantly trying to out-quip the other, one-up the other in some quippy line here and there. Are there some serious moments? Yes, but it's only Gamora that really says the serious things. Everybody else is just like cracking wise and telling jokes and all that stuff. I wanted something more with this interaction. I mean, this is the first time Thor is meeting the Guardians of the Galaxy. This is a monumental one. This is the first time the Guardians are meeting anybody from the Avengers. This should be a pivotal moment, and it just turns out to be one big joke. It's a quip fest. Another series of underwhelming interactions, mostly due to the fact that the characters did not have a lot of screen time given to them, was everybody on Cap's team. I was actually heartbroken that Cap did not have a lot of scenes in this film. As you all know, Captain America is my favorite superhero of all time. And the fact that in this 2.5-hour film, his screen time makes up roughly 30 minutes? I mean, yeah, he does things in the film, but he doesn't really interact with other characters, especially characters that we haven't seen him interact with before. The beauty about Infinity War is that you see these characters interacting with characters they've never interacted before. That's why it was exciting to see Thor interacting with the Guardians of the Galaxy, Iron Man interacting with Doctor Strange, Iron Man interacting with the Guardians of the Galaxy, Spider-Man interacting with Doctor Strange. These interesting interactions. Captain interacts with Black Widow, T'Challa, White Wolf, aka the Winter Soldier, Sam Wilson, the same gang. He interacts with the same people. And that was upsetting. I mean, there is a scene where he does meet characters he's never met before, but he doesn't really say anything to them. He sees them, and then that's it. And that was upsetting, because that's the whole purpose of this film. We're bringing the team together. We want to see them interact with one another. I want to see these interactions. I also hated how they completely brush away Bruce and Natasha's little romance from Age of Ultron. I know many people were not fond of their romance, but damn it, I liked the romance, and I wanted to see some resolution between these two characters. You can clearly tell they still care about one another, so why the hell do they only have one interaction in the entire film? One, guys! Just one! And finally, let's touch on the big baddie himself, Thanos. Now earlier, I mentioned that I was still very torn by how to feel about this character. On the one hand, he is quite an effective villain in the sense that he comes off as this intimidating, imposing, and threatening force in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Not only does he tower over everybody, but he's extremely strong, intelligent, and cunning. Not only can he beat you down physically, but he can outsmart you, he can outthink you. I mean, that is quite an impressive foe to face off against. But the problem that I have with this character is I personally felt that his motivations were incredibly weak and contradictory. I'll explain the weak part first. The reason his motivations are so weak is one, they don't make sense, and two, he gains nothing from accomplishing this goal. He sets out to collect the Infinity Stones, apparently to bring balance to the universe? What are you, Marvel's Avatar? Really sit back and think about it. What did Thanos have to gain by collecting all the Infinity Stones and bringing balance to the universe? Nothing. He gained nothing. If anything, he lost more than he actually gained. I don't see exactly how the pros outweigh the cons here. I mean, it's not like they set up that the universe was in any sort of peril. Had they set that up from the get-go, it would make more sense why Thanos is doing what he's doing. His motivations would be more clear, straightforward, and strong. Here, he decides on his own accord to bring balance to the universe that clearly didn't need balance to begin with because he just felt like doing it? What? No, that doesn't work as a convincing motivation for your main antagonists. And now let's touch on the contradictory part. In the first Avengers, this is part of the canon of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In the first Avengers, clearly Thanos was not interested in bringing balance to the universe. The way they portray his character for the brief moment that he's on screen is that this is a man that loves a challenge. When he heard that his army was defeated by humans on Earth and that to challenge them was to court death, he saw that as a great challenge. Wow, I found people that might actually put up a fight against me. I gotta take this foe down. He didn't smile like, ooh, time to bring balance to the universe. That's not what he was thinking. And then let's jump to Guardians of the Galaxy. Clearly, he was not looking to bring balance to the universe. Again, he was more megalomaniacal in that film. He was power obsessed, power hungry. Almost the same type of character that he was in the Avengers. He looked like a guy that just wanted to flex his muscles, show what type of power that he had. So his motivations throughout multiple films spanning 6 years have been completely altered and goes against the type of character that he was established to be back in 2012. He wasn't this benevolent being that wanted to bring peace to the universe. This was a man that wanted to hold the universe for ransom. He wanted to hold it in the palm of his fist. That's why he got the gauntlet in the first place. To flex his power, to become a god, to face a worthy adversary. That's what the Avengers backed up. That's what Guardians of the Galaxy backed up. The Thanos that you see in Infinity War is not the same Thanos from 6 years ago, from 4 years ago. A completely different Thanos altogether. And that's not even touching on how they completely butchered and bastardized this character from his original comic book counterpart. But you know what? I'm willing to forgive that because this is an adaptation. They have to take some liberties in order to make the story work cohesively. But as somebody that read the original Infinity Gauntlet, knows about Thanos' backstory, knows why he got the Infinity Stones, or in the comics it's gems, but why he got them to begin with, I can't help but look at this Thanos as an imposter. This is not the actual Thanos, but I have to restrain myself because again, it is an adaptation. If I'm forgiving about the way they handled the Mandarin, I think I can be forgiving by how they handled Thanos. So yeah, I mean, even talking about it, I still don't know how to feel about the character. I enjoyed seeing him. I liked many moments that the character had. I liked that they gave him some purpose. They did flesh out his character a bit more. But it's just not consistent. His character is not consistent with this established universe, the way that they built him up to be. But overall, despite its many flaws, I still thoroughly enjoyed watching Avengers Infinity War. And no matter what I say about the film, you're going to see it anyway, regardless of my recommendation. But if you guys want to know what I thought of it, I thought it was a fun film. I did enjoy it. I had many problems with it, but I do think it is definitely worth watching. But as always, guys, I'm not the end-all be-all opinion when it comes to Avengers Infinity War. I would love to know what you guys thought of the film as well. Do you love it to death? Is it one of your favorite Marvel films of all time? Or is it probably boring, daunting, cliche, you just couldn't get into it? And do let me know, what interaction did you love the most in this film? Like, what two characters interacting did you really enjoy? Comment below, let me know, and if people really want, I might do a spoiler review or a spoiler discussion. I do have lots more to say about the film, and I do plan to see it again. I really enjoyed watching it. Even though I had all those problems, the moment it finished, I said, damn, I really want to watch this film again. So if it can make me feel that way, I do think it's a film worth seeing. It's not god-awful, it wasn't underwhelming, it gave me what I wanted to see to a certain degree, but it also let me down in some parts, which, you know, it's give or take. But do let me know what you guys thought of the film as well. Stay tuned, more videos are on the way, and I want to take this time to personally thank all the patrons who graciously donated to my Patreon account. And if you'd like to support this channel and help it stay afloat so I can make more videos, please donate to my Patreon account. There's a link in the description. And as always, guys, if you'd like some more videos in the channel, be part of the Black Critic Crew, please hit that subscribe button below. Like this video if you really enjoyed it. And I'm talking about the second, the ruler known as the Black Critic Guy. Till then, peace, YouTube.